What is good, everyone? For this episode, we are going to be going over Judas swings, and overall, I think I'm just going to be talking a little bit just more about the open high-low close and open low-high close. We touched upon that briefly during the first episode, but I do want to touch on this a little bit more. And so, what the open high-low close basically represents is manipulation, right? So you'll often see a candle start like this, where we'll trade like this. We'll have some accumulation. We will then have manipulation, and then we'll perform the open high. If this is a bear scenario, we'll have the wick, and then we will have the close and perform the wick right there. And then, that's how the candle will look like, right? And what this will look like really is, you'll see 1 p.m. open here. You'll see it then trade higher to then have some manipulation, and then you'll see, whatever time after that, trade lower, maybe 2 or 1:30. And this happens with hourly openings. So like the main time frames the times you want to be looking at, times to look at for open high low close, open low high close. I really would say the 4 hour. So 10 a.m., 1 p.m. also 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 1 p.m. So you can even go look at like 1:30, 1:15. 11 o'clock, right? 11 a.m. So like literally like whatever hourly opening. It really depends on like the model and the setup. But I would mainly focus on 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Those are the silver bullet times. Those are the times where it's going to be like the most volatility, because it is the 4-hour opening of the candles, right? So yeah. And of course, what this video is really just going to be about is the Judas swing. So the Judas swing revolves around the 9:30 opening, right? So the 9:30 opening is a really like one of the most crucial times. And you'll often hear so like what a Judas swing really looks like is we'll have some accumulation probably before 9:30 open, or let's say we just do something like this. Then we trade higher, trading away. And we'll hit some sort of key level, or we'll sweep some sort of liquidity. This is from like 9:30 to maybe 10 o'clock, and then we'll have that reversal, and we'll trade back to that low, and we'll trade then lower, right? So this is what a Judas swing pretty much looks like in a bear scenario. In a bullish scenario, it looks something more just like this, where we'll have some and then accumulation. Sorry, then 9:30 opens, trade lower, and then we trade higher. Right, so 9:30 open is going to be like a major time, right? This is when the market opens. You'll often just see a lot of manipulation happen at that 9:30 opening, and you'll most likely then see like 10 o'clock to then reverse. So this is really important for time, and yeah, I mean, I always am looking at this, and you'll often always see me. It's not always going to happen like this, though. I do want to say that. There's times where 9:30 will open and then just straight up deliver to the draw, and there's nothing really you can do about that. I mean, unless you trade pre-market, which I don't. And yeah, so I usually just wait for that Judas swing to happen. And let's now get into some examples. I think we had a pretty good Judas on Monday. So as you can see here, we're at 9:15, and if we go on like our time frames here, we have a key level here. This is a bullish breaker. I don't know. We haven't gone over that. We'll go over that breaker blocks in the actual mentorship, but for now, just know that this here is a key level. This is your low, high, lower low, and then this is a bullish breaker, channel state delivery area. This is a sensitive area, right? So at 9:30 open, right, we want to mark out this 9:30 open. If I'm bullish, which I am here, and we actually did take a long here, or did we? I don't know. I want to see price open up, trade lower into this area, and then reject from here to then trade higher. Yeah, we did take a long here. I did take this trade. Yeah. So 9:30 opens. You can see the opening price right here. This is your 9:30 opening price. We trade below the opening price. We then hit our key level, and then 10 a.m. ends up reversing off of that and trades higher away from this. And then we trade above opening price, and this is your 9:30 Judas swing. Sometimes you'll see it happen faster if the key level is closer, if the liquidity pool that we're looking at is closer. But this is an example of a bullish Judas swing and just a Judas swing. Let's see, another example. I think Thursday was good. So as you can see here, in this example, I was bearish, right? So we had that accumulation before 9:30 open, and I was bearish because, and I took this trade also, because we had this 8:30 sell side level right here. So I was bearish because we had data lows right here. Remember, we did cover data lows. And we have our opening price here, which is 9:30. We then trade away. And what I'm looking at is for then our key levels. So we have a key level right here, right? A bearish 15-minute fair value gap. So I want to see this get traded to then go short, right? And this is my key level. So, you know, we have our opening price of our candle here. Right, this is your 9:30 open. We then trade away and we trade above. And then we hit our key level, and then we end up trading low. Or the key level was the hourly. Sorry, excuse me. We then end up hitting our key level here, and then, you know, you can trade. I think I took this short right here, and then I targeted. I think it was the lows down here, data lows, these lows. Yeah. But yeah, so we trade away from the opening price, then we hit our key level, then we trade back below the opening price towards our key level. And you'll often hear me say like Judas Swing when I'm going to be referring to it in daily profiles. So what I mean by this is like there's going to be like moves that happen before 9:30 that just don't make sense. Like for example, let's say we end up trading lower here, but we don't sweep any liquidity. We don't hit any higher time frame for rally gap. And let's say like the liquidity pool is like right here, right? And this is your buy side liquidity, but we didn't hit it, right? Then there's move here like doesn't really make sense when we didn't sweep liquidity, we didn't hit a higher time frame P, right? So this move is most likely a Judas Swing, and we'll trade back towards that, you know, opening price, that Judas Swing, and this is a false move, right? So always just refer to like a Judas Swing as like a fake out. The 9:30 candle most likely give you a fake out to give you, you know, a good entry. And you know, there are times though where, for example, today I wanted to have a bullish manipulation. And I didn't get that at 9:30, right? Sorry. All right, at 9:30, I was bearish here, right? So I was bearish in this scenario, right? So don't just look at every opening of a 9:30 candle as like manipulation, because for example here, when I was bullish, when I was bearish, I wanted to see like some manipulation higher before then trading lower, and I didn't get that. So like the opening price, we just immediately ripped. We got like a little bit of an open high, but I like to see better manipulation, like sweeping out like this liquidity, something like that. But yeah, I mean, this manipulation happened, and then we traded lower. And you know, that just happens sometimes where, you know, even if we're going to be bearish for the day, there's still times where we won't have that manipulation, and we'll just hit our drawn liquidity, and we'll just trade lower without, you know, that entry. But yeah, that's what a Judas Swing is. But what I was saying with the daily profiles, when I'm gonna get into daily profiles when we actually start the mentorship. That's gonna be one lesson we're gonna talk about. But again, the 9:30 opening is going to be huge because you'll have a Judas Swing usually before that, or like the Judas Swing happen where, you know, we'll have like a huge move happen, and that's at 9:30. And, you know, that wasn't sponsored by anything. You're like, well, why did that happen? Well, it's most likely going to be manipulation. Versus, you know, if we have a move that is actually sponsored, and let's say we trade higher, and then we hit a high, and then we trade lower, like, you know. But yeah, that's just what unsponsored and sponsored. I'm going to go way more in depth with that if you're confused about it in the actual start of the mentorship. Don't worry. But that's essentially what a Judas Swing is. Definitely look into it. If you guys just go on your charts, start marking out the 9:30 opening, because again, that's going to be really telltale of what the day is going to look like. But yeah, we'll usually get like a 10 a.m. reversal is usually the time where you'll see that reversal happen from the 9:30 open. Sometimes you'll get it pretty much immediately, like 9:30 will immediately manipulate into a key level that you're already looking at. But yeah, that was going to do it for this episode, and peace out, guys.